Hi, I'm Nyla Warren. My mentor is Dr. An, and today I'm going to be talking about how does quality of life affect driver safety. My main question today is, can we predict how many fatal accidents a state will have based on their quality of life? I was curious about this, just looking at the percent of accidents that are drunk driving, distracted driving, and things like that, and wondering if this could be explained by health issues, mental health issues, stress on life. Obviously, we know that quality of life affects every aspect. So the methods I used were statistical analysis, linear regression, and ordinary least square fit. I did all my statistical analysis using Python and R. Driving data. I broke this down into which state has the most and least fatal accidents. North Carolina and South Dakota have 23.9 accidents per billion miles. Hawaii had 54 speeding accidents. Montana had 44 alcohol-impaired accidents. 90% of accidents in Mississippi were distracted drivers. And this was 76% of Kentucky drivers' first accident. Now, something I should mention is that this data only covers the United States and also only covers fatal accidents. So it doesn't count fender benders or every time you tap a car. Massachusetts has 8.2 accidents per billion miles. Nebraska has 13 speeding accidents. Utah had 6 alcohol-impaired accidents. Only 1% of Ohio and North Dakota accidents were distracted drivers. And this was 100% of Mississippi drivers' first accidents. Here's just a chart of the fatal collisions by state. I have fatal collisions per billion miles on the y-axis, and then every state on the x, and they're all labeled. I chose to focus on fatal collisions per billion miles because I thought that was the broadest category that would get the most exact results. And here's just a summary of each category. Alcohol, no previous accidents, distracted, or not distracted, and speeding. Quality of life. Quality of life includes affordability, stability, education, physical, and mental health. States with the highest quality of life. Massachusetts has the highest total quality of life with a score of 62.65. New Jersey is the safest state. North Dakota has the most stable economy. And Massachusetts has the highest health and education score. States with the lowest quality of life. Mississippi has the lowest total score with 39.77. New Mexico is the most dangerous. Mississippi has the least stable income. And Mississippi is the lowest health and education score. Something I should mention is that the total quality of life for a state is measured by combining all the factors, safety, health, and things like that into one score, so they could be compared to each other. Here's a graph of quality of life compared to the state. Kansas is doing all right in the upper half. How the variables correlate, or do they correlate? Here's my kind of blurb of analysis from R. So is there a relationship? The correlation coefficient is negative 0.58. The p-value is 7.7. So the p-value is statistically significant. And that just confirms that there is a moderate negative correlation. When quality of life is low, crashes are high, which is kind of what I was expecting from this. Here's a graph of fatal collisions versus total quality of life by state, with each state numbered, or labeled, I mean. And here's that same graph with a linear regression line, which is just showing kind of the average line of what we'd expect. So can we predict fatal accidents by quality of life? Again, here's the least square fit. 54% of fatal car accidents can be explained by quality of life. This could likely be broken down to categories of health and safety. So we could look further into this and find what exactly is causing that correlation. That's the place where research could be done. I also think this would be interesting to see how this correlates in countries, counties, things like that, just expanding, broadening, or shrinking the data. And here's a graph of that actual versus predicted fatal collisions by state. So you can see it's not exact, but it lines up enough to make you ask, why does that line up? Limits of the research. The main issue I was running into was I couldn't find good crash data and good quality of life data that were within the same year. So all the crash data I have is from 2012 and 2019, or 2009, I mean. While the quality of life data I have is from 2024. This can obviously cause issues because quality of life in the state may be very different in the last 10 years. Or there may have been upgrades or downgrades that change things in a way that we wouldn't know just looking at those numbers. Where's the data from? The driving data is all from 538, and I found the CSV of the quality of life data on Kaggle. Here's a reference to some similar research, or the most similar I could find. I couldn't really see anyone talking about this exact correlation. More people talking about quality of life and how that relates to health. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.